Laws are only as useful and as powerful as society's will to enforce them. And there's no place this is more obvious than when it comes to consumer protection legislation, especially laws that enshrine the right of ownership, because they are few and far between, and unfortunately they are not very well enforced. I did a video on this new law that came out in the state of California that I'm actually for. It says that if you're advertising something as a sale of a good, and you use the word purchase, buy, or any term which a reasonable person would use to understand a unrestricted ownership interest in the digital good, but you have the ability to revoke it from the customer, you can't use the word lifetime because that's false advertising. I wanted to try and test this case with something that was very obvious. Here you can buy a textbook and they clearly delineate between a year and lifetime. However, when you click onto this really, really tiny text over here that says details, next this is a digital license, you see that it only means up typically 5 years of online access. Not even 5 years, typically 5 years, meaning that they can revoke it, which sucks. So when they talk about permanent download to a supported device, that's permanent, but that's only as long as the device is supported. Once the device is no longer supported, this is not like a PDF file that you have access to forever. This is like a PDF file that just comes and goes, like Luan Taharaj's website. Oh, bird! That is such fucking dad humor right there. Get it? Because he took down his website? Yeah, I'll see myself out. If I don't hate you all, you'll be able to tell because I'll edit that garbage dad humor out of the video. Fuck, that was a stupid joke. Anyway, the point of the matter is that I thought that this was a very clear violation of the spirit of that law, if not the letter of the law. You're still advertising it as a lifetime license, and you are not saying over here, lifetime means typically 5 years and blah, blah, blah. You have this shit over here where I see this is a digital license, which is duh. I click details, and then I get to this. I asked a bunch of people to email their consumer protection agencies and CC me on the communications. I checked up on everybody, and as I talked about in this video, nobody heard back anything. One person actually did start getting subscribed to some nonsensical newsletter email, but nobody else got anything, which means that this law, as it is written, unfortunately, as much as I like the law and the idea of enshrining ownership into the law, it's functionally useless. It doesn't work because companies can still act with impunity and get away with it. There's an interesting report that came out from US PIRG that I wanted to go over with you, and this goes over the right to repair law that passed in the state of California. This comes from KQED News, funded by PBS, or I guess used to be funded by PBS. Well, rest in peace. Sadly, Public Interest Research Group's July report looked at how well companies are complying with California's right to repair law, which went into effect a year ago this month. The law requires manufacturers of appliances and electronics to make the parts, tools, and information necessary to repair their products available to consumers. Our main takeaway is that manufacturers need to do a better job of complying with California's right to repair law, said Jen Engstrom, the state director of CalPIRG, the state's branch of US PIRG. The organization graded 25 products in 5 categories, including cell phones, dishwashers, tablets, gaming consoles, and laptops, and assigned them letter grades based on how well they made repair documentation and parts available to consumers. In general, manufacturers of electronics like Apple, which has a robust self-repair page, receive higher graders than appliance makers. All 5 laptops surveyed got an A or a B. We can have a word about that. But outside of that part, no dishwasher got above a C, meaning repair help was limited, at best, according to the report. An F grade indicates that no parts or repair manuals are available. KQED reached out to several of the companies mentioned in the report and only heard back from LG, the South Korean multinational electronics company, which got an F for one of its dishwashers. The CalPIRG grade is baffling, said John I. Taylor, senior vice president of LG Electronics USA, in an emailed statement. The report is incorrect. The service manuals and parts for their LG dishwasher are available to consumers in California. A search of LG's website produced only an owner's manual, not a repair manual for the dishwasher surveyed in the report. This does not comply with California's right to repair law, according to Engstrom. When KQED asked an LG customer service representative to provide a repair manual via online chat, the technician responded, "Please be informed that only authorized technicians can use that. We are not allowed to share it with the customer." Furnished with the full text of California's right to repair law, the agent advised that a customer could call a local authorized service center, which would provide a repair manual. When KQED called a local authorized service center, a representative responded, "We don't sell repair manuals," and hung up. And this is that thing where there's complying with the law, there's complying with the law, and then there's not complying with the law. And the difference between these two seems to be something that John I. Taylor is not aware of while he's so baffled. Personally, I think if you're talking about something like this, it should be easier for me to get the schematic for the appliance that I purchased under this law than it is to find a schematic for a MacBook that is obtained illegally. I'm going to try and find a schematic or a service manual for this LG dishwasher, and then I'm going to try and figure out if it's easier or harder to find a schematic for a MacBook that Apple goes out of their way to not make available. So the model of this is going to be an LG SDWB24W3. And I'm going to compare that to a 2011 Mac. Go to google.com. Okay. Service manual. Support manuals, warranty, and more. I find an owner's manual. I'm just going to open a bunch of different tabs and see what I get. Okay, so first tab, manuals and software, owner's manual, online manual, no service manual. Okay, let's see. Does the owner's manual or the online manual have anything that would be useful for fixing it? This is not a service manual. Let's see. Maintenance, cleaning and care, cleaning the interior, cleaning the filters. This is not a service manual. Repair request, owner's manual, online manual. This is not a service manual. Owner's manual, not a service manual. 403 forbidden. Now I'm going to try to find a schematic to an A202936 MacBook motherboard. I'm just going to open a bunch of pages. I know my form's not going to have any freaking schematic. It better not. But I don't feel like going El Salvador just yet. Okay, so this is a RAR file. Let's see if I find an easier one. Click here to download, and boom. It is literally easier for me to find a schematic to something that Apple goes out of their way to make sure I can't get than it is to find a schematic to an LG dishwasher that their own fucking PR people are claiming is publicly available. Are you still fucking baffled, or do you get the idea? Personally, I'd be baffled if LG did follow the law. They haven't been following right to repair laws, but they also haven't been following the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, which has been in place since the 70s. It's been around long enough that they should be in compliance with it. The warranty for an LG Plasma was similarly unclear, stating that it does not apply to repair or replacement of warranted parts by anyone other than LGE authorized service centers. After reaching out to companies 3 times, we found that most of the customer service representatives we reached out to were fairly clear that independent repair would void the warranty, even if the warranty itself did not explicitly declare this. This deals with those warranty void if removed stickers that you see on many different products. And many people actually believe that these stickers are enforceable. But they're not enforceable. They are against the law. You can't have that there. That's not the way this works. The Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act does allow a manufacturer to void your warranty, but they have to demonstrate and prove that you did something to break the device. They can't just have some catch-all like a sticker. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you have a MacBook and the battery dies on your MacBook. You replace the battery in your MacBook on your own. 2 months later, the GPU dies on your MacBook because it's a MacBook, and that's what they used to do back in the day. The GPU would die. You're usually right on schedule. The GPU dies, and they open your computer and they say, it looks like you replace your battery, therefore your warranty is fully void. You're not allowed to do that. They can't do that. Now, if they say, well, look, you put the wrong screw in the wrong hole and you drilled a hole through the board, therefore we are not covering this under warranty because you broke it while fixing it. That's allowed under the law. You cannot simply void the warranty just based on the idea that somebody else worked on the product. That's not allowed. LG, along with many other appliance manufacturers, have not been in compliance with this law for a very long period of time, and they're not getting penalized for it either. Again, it comes down to this basic fact that a law is only as useful as a societal will to enforce that law. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave a link down below for you to file a consumer complaint if you live in the state of California. I would like to see them enforce their laws. And at the very least, if they don't want to enforce the law, can we at least inform them on why the vice president of LG should not be baffled? It is literally easier for me to obtain material that I am not supposed to have access to than it is for me to obtain a service manual to a fucking dishwasher that the law says I should have access to. I need you guys to help me. Consumer protection laws and laws that enshrine the rights of ownership are only as useful as society's willingness to enforce them. Sometimes they just need a little kick. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.
We also have the duty not to infringe the IP rights in the process. It is in fact the manufacturers who have the relevant rights, not consumers.